Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bears on Tap. There we go, Ronnie boy. He's doing a little head shake. Get the little night at the Roxbury. We got Monday Fun Day. It's the off season. There's a lot. There's not too much going on, but we got a lot going on. We got an action-packed show. Bears on Tap, brought to you by On Tap Sports, and I'm your host, Brandon Torres. You can follow me on Twitter at Bdon300. In the top left-hand corner, you can follow my guy, Mr. Ron Loose, at Loose on Tap. In the top right-hand corner, Mr. Joey Knows Nothing at Joey Knows Nothing, Joey Ricotta, the Cheese Man. And then down here on the bottom shelf with me, my guy, Mr. Buttkiss Stats, Quintin. We're going to be talking about a little bit of off-season, some scenarios. We got some questions and some little activities planned out. But to start out with, I thought it was interesting. Locke wrote about it earlier. The Bears put in the initial bid for the plan. So just kind of like the initial bid, like way before you even figure out you're going to get a property or, a plot of land, you have to prove what you want to do with that land. So the Bears at least have like that plan in place that maybe one day that they're going to leave Soldier Field and potentially go to Arlington Heights. So I just wanted to get your guys' thought about that. I know that's something that we've talked about here and there, like over the last few seasons, to be honest, because it's always been in the news. But what would your thoughts be on a move out of Soldier Field?
I'm here for it. Final Fours, a Super Bowl, a sweet. That plot of land's going to be sick. Look what they did with SoFi and the land that SoFi sits on with everything and all the amenities and all the additional real estate they built with it. It's still smaller than the Arlington Park property. They can go absolutely bad shit crazy with it, make it the coolest thing since sliced bread, and just keep it moving. And yeah, is it going to be a shame they don't play on the lakefront? No. If they got a beautiful brand new stadium that welcomes in hopefully a brand new era of Bears football that's winning and it means success, sometimes the old thing is nice and all, and don't get me wrong, and she'll be beautiful sitting on the lakefront. The Fire will continue to play there, but I'm all right with the Bears going out to Arlington.
Joey?
Same thing. I mean, I really – at first I was like, oh, you don't want to leave Chicago. Like, why would you leave Chicago? This is closer to me, I believe, and why not? Like, yeah, I'm –
selfish reasons.
Yeah, selfish reasons.
Joey's calling from an undisclosed location.
I am. I'm not going to tell you where I am, but I think I'm closer. I'll just say that. But also, it's like you can add so much to it, too. If you get this property, you move over there, you can do so much over there. You can build onto that, add on, shopping center, add on, a casino, whatever you want to do. Like, they're going to be able to do so much in this area, and it's going to mean more money for the Bears, and it's going to be a good thing for them, which I don't really care that much all about that. I only care about the product on the field, if we're being honest. But it should be, in theory, a better product on the field because the field will be better. And, they've been playing this dog shit area with it's hard to enter, it's hard to leave, it's hard to park. Like, just get out of it.
Nowhere to go around there.
Just get out of that shithole. Honestly, yeah. I'm sorry to say that, but I know it's a classic place that people have been going to for, years. But it's like at some point you just need to break away from tradition and just do yourself something that's going to benefit you in the long run.
So I'm taking a bit of a different turn on this, man. I'll be sad. I grew up watching, like, so proud of that stadium on the lakefront, just being like, man, no one has a better looking stadium than that. Like, the flyovers, it just looks incredible. So a part of me will be really sad to see it change. But ultimately, it's going to help the Bears have more money. It's going to help the Bears get better. It's going to help their home field advantage, getting more fans in the stadium, even if you take the cold out of it with a roof. But ultimately, it should help the Bears product on the field. It helps their facilities. It helps players want to come there, want to join the organization. I doubt, I don't know this for a fact, but I doubt that players really love playing at Soldier Field. I bet you it's not the best facilities. I know Hallis Hall is because of that recent renovation, but who knows with Soldier Field. The Bears have to go through such a tough time with the Park District every time they want to do anything to it. And this thing in Arlington is going to be a real estate developer's dream. People are going to be lining up to work with the Bears on this, to get a piece of it, to try to just get even a square foot within this thing because it's just going to be a cash cow. So it's going to be incredible. And if it's not, they blew it. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and I mean, for selfish reasons as well, I think, like, while I do have a lot of good memories at Soldier Field, I just feel overall, like, as a facility, the potential to get this kind of mega facility where you can host Super Bowls and you can host Final Fours, you have a casino and you have a hotel right down the street. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that you want for your team. It's adult Disney World in my eyes, to be honest, and it's right down the street for us. So I would be fully on board for that. It would suck because, like you said, Quentin, like, we do have good memories at Soldier Field, but from a player's perspective, the playing surface has never been good. To be nice, like, just say good. It's run by
people get hurt.
Well, it's run by the fucking Chicago Park District, and we're just not a great city when it comes down to it. But we are a great city in certain spots, but as a whole,
don't let them hear that when we're bidding for the Final Four in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, Arlington
part
Heights. Oh, shit. Arlington Heights. I mean, Arlington Heights is a nice little area. I like Arlington Heights. I can imagine going to Bears games out there, but I just think it's one of those things as a franchise. It's too good to pass up, and I know they're in the initial bid to even bid on it. So it's like, it's literally just a piece of paper. Like, it's just a blueprint of, like, what they possibly want to do if they can get this space. The possibilities are endless. And obviously this wouldn't be something that would be done for like 10 years. So the Bears would still be at Soldier Field for a while, let's just say.
Yeah,
but
I think the Rams took 5 years and 5 or 6. Yeah. And that's kind of lining up with where the Bears' current lease at Soldier Field would be. I think they'd have 2 or 3 years left when they opened it, which at that point you can talk about, they're going to be bringing in enough money from the new stadium to still be green while paying off the old lease. So at that point it becomes pretty clear math.
Yeah,
and they have no problem just jacking up the price on hot dogs and beer.
Well, and I think too, just to insert my 2 cents, I think there is a clause within the contract that after a certain year, the buyout out of the lease is fractions of what it would be at this point in time at that deadline that you're talking about, Quentin. So it's like, agreed. It's like there's like only like 3 or 4 years left on it afterwards, but it's so minimal money that they'll just pay it outright right away, get out of the lease, and it won't matter.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see what happens. Obviously, like I said, this is something that won't happen in the near future, but something to definitely keep tabs on, keep an eye on as a franchise, because it would be amazing. I mean, obviously, as the Bears, we would never have the luck of playing in a Super Bowl in our own city because we're just the Chicago Bears, but the possibility would be there,
You stop that negative energy.
Yeah, don't talk like that. We're not hearing that.
Man, the Final Four and the Super Bowl are lining up to do something in Chicago if they get a dome. They don't get the opportunity to do that stuff in a city like Chicago very often, as is. I mean, it's not, they can't do it in New York. Like they can do it in LA. That's the closest thing to Chicago or Houston. Like, just as far as sheer population, those are the 2 closest. Actually, I think LA's past Chicago, but not Houston, unless they fudge their numbers. I think they might have a few years ago, but
Houston. The
Texans.
The Texans in the city of Houston are
Houston
Houston athletic teams just are not on a high run over the last few years, for the lack of better terms. But I think for us, like, let's go into some other lighter topics. I say lighter, but I'm about to go on a little bit of a rant. Quentin might stop me, but I logged on to the Blue Bird today, and I'm not even going to give the guys but I saw a list of running backs in the NFL in which David Montgomery was listed at 23rd, behind guys like Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, both of which have literally just worn shorts and like a girdle with like an NFL team helmet at a rookie minicamp. So it's like, yeah, I'm sure those guys without an NFL snap are already better than David Montgomery. It's just like, I don't know. Sometimes I get frustrated because I feel like there is that Bears bias. This isn't necessarily just at that because it's like you see stuff about Fields, you see stuff about our coaching staff, you see stuff about Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith gets no fucking recognition by any national form of media, PFF, none of that. Roquan is like a legend in the city because we love a good linebacker, but I love a good fullback too. But like Roquan and Fields hasn't earned it, but like Roquan and Monty are two guys that, yeah, they may not be as good as they are on the Bears on the other team in the NFL, but I'll say Monty's at least a top 15, top 20 back. You know what I'm saying? He ain't lower than 20. So what would you guys say, like, your opinion is on, like, the Bears bias, and especially, like, for a young team like this going into a season where really and truly nobody knows what's going to happen? You see underneath me it says their win total is 6.5. Like, they could win 8 or 9 games. They also could win 4. We really don't know, but that bias is something that's going to be there regardless of if we win or lose. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the Bears bias in the national market's very weird because they're the oldest franchise in the NFL, yet it feels like they're kind of like a scapegoat in a lot of ways for the league. Like, they don't get a lot of love nationally. It's very rare that they get a lot of love. Like, I feel like if Devin Hester is on like any other team in the NFL during his Bears career, like there's even more hype surrounding him. And maybe part of that was he was kind of prior to like the social media age too, and that's completely plausible. But it just, yeah, it feels like guys get disrespected just because they put on a Chicago Bears jersey. And it has that weird feel to it. But I'm telling you what changes that though? A brand new stadium, right? Maybe new ownership down the road here. Like
a casino.
Yeah, like that all of a sudden. But I think it does because then I think the league then sees that the Bears mean something because the Bears are one of those franchises that are incredibly popular because they're the Chicago Bears. Like, they're the oldest team in the NFL. That 85 team still lives rent-free in everybody's head. Like, the Chicago Bears mean something to the NFL. When the Bears are good, the NFL is doing well. They want the Bears to be in it every single year. And a new stadium, maybe some new ownership, a better-looking squad, all of a sudden signals some of that hope. And I think that's what the NFL wants. But like right now, it's like they're shunning the Bears because they're not getting it from them. So I don't know. It's weird, but I don't agree with it. I agree with you. I think Montgomery is at least better than number 20 in the NFL.
Well, and I think it goes to something that Joey said earlier, where it's like the Bears have been a franchise that have tread water since was it the turn of the century when they renovated Soldier Field, right? Like, nothing's really truly changed. And ownership obviously won't change. It hasn't changed our entire lives. It may down the road, but you have the same stadium, same jerseys, same fucking team year in and year out, just different guys, a terrible offense, a decent defense, some decent names, and then you restart the cycle to where you get, one playoff appearance out of like that core, and then you throw those guys out, and then you get that one playoff appearance, and then you keep rolling. But what Joey said is change is good and it's necessary, especially when running an NFL franchise. So I kind of like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree with you, man. I mean, obviously I said that, but when we're talking about Montgomery too, it's like, dude, how I understand like the advanced metrics also don't like him, and he's only rushed for over 1,000 yards one time so far. So it's like, I get it why he's looked at as maybe overrated or not as good, but it kind of goes back to what Ron was saying, where it's like, a lot of times I think the Bears players get undervalued, where especially if the team as a whole sucks or they are subpar, and you look at a lot of that. I feel like a lot of that was on coaching, just on the line front of things, but also just the inability to get any push up front for a lot of time that Montgomery's been here with the Bears. And it's like the change in that aspect, like you're talking about, I think that's necessary. And because maybe this isn't the best fit, and I'll let Quintin kind of touch on that a little bit more. Maybe it's not the best fit here with Montgomery and the new coaching staff, but I do believe they're going to find better ways to use them and find better ways for the offensive line to be productive, to not only get Montgomery the ball in better situations, but also to make it where it's not like he's fighting tooth and nail for every single yard that he has to get. So it kind of goes back to what you're saying, Bdon, about change is necessary, because Montgomery in a good offense or even a decent offense, which we have not seen really, Montgomery, I believe he really is a top 13 back in this league. He's better than half of the running backs in this league, in my opinion. It's hard to prove that, especially for my case. I can't sit here and be like, look, here's all this evidence, and I'm going to present you these
with
facts.
numbers and stuff. Yeah,
you can't do that because it's not on the spreadsheets. It's not on the paper. But
Joey knows ball though. These eyes don't lie. These
eyes don't lie, baby. Like this dude gets pushed. He gets pushed and he hammers people, and I love that absolutely. Maybe that is the fan in me being biased as a fan perspective, but Montgomery's a beast, man. So I'll let Quintin tell you why Montgomery's
not a beast. I'm just kidding.
So I'll preface this by saying in the pre-show, I didn't hear you said 23rd.
Yeah, 23rd.
23rd is ludicrous.
Yeah.
I think he's firmly a top 15 running back. I don't think he's quite a top 10 running back, not a top 5 running back, but definitely top 15, just by the sheer fact that he doesn't have to come off the field ever. And I think that gets lost a lot when people start talking running backs. He is a guy who is not tipping your hand to any play call at any time. He can stay out there for pass blocking. He can go run a route. He can run up the middle. He can run outside. He can do it all. And he doesn't come off the field because of that very much. Most of the running backs around the league that you look at, like one of the guys you said earlier was Javonte Williams, he's gonna play 2/3 of the snaps that Monty does because he's gonna come off the field.
Yeah,
that's a huge factor that gets overlooked way too much, in my opinion. Now, granted, I do wish Monty had better jets. If he had better jets, he would be making an argument for a top 5 back because he runs hard. He doesn't have to come off the field. But the lack of the home run hitting ability really hurts him, in my opinion. And it's just the numbers are pretty clear with it. Some of it comes down to blocking, but some of it comes down to when he has a home run play, he gets 20 yards instead of 40 because a guy catches him, which is going to affect his numbers some. I love Monty's work ethic. I love his blue collar mentality, but I'm not sure I can say he's entered the top 10 on running backs. Yeah, definitely in the top 15, though. 23 is ludicrous.
That's fair. That's definitely fair.
Also,
go ahead.
I think with the bias, I think some of that does come with the 3 down back aspect, as I was saying, and just the fact that the Bears haven't put a good offense out there really much in my life. Maybe once in 2013 when Trestman first got here, they were a top half of the league offense. Under Nagy, they were top half in scoring, but a lot of that was the defense, and their yards were bottom half. So it's hard to be recognized by the league as being that good when your product's always bottom half of the league,
Yeah, and to continue the Breece Hall hate from the draft stream for getting drafted before Kenneth Walker and for being on this list ahead of David Montgomery, there is no fucking way in hell that Breece Hall gets drafted where he gets drafted in the draft if Montgomery has not had the career that he's had in the NFL yet. Because nobody was looking at Iowa State as a serious football program to get NFL players out of. So we'll just put that out there for people that think that Breece Hall, who is going to take these snaps from Michael Carter, who had a phenomenal year last year for the Jets, is better than David Montgomery. But that is my David Montgomery moment. If anyone else has any final thoughts.
There's serious merit to that. I mean, Montgomery came into the league ready to play 3 downs.
Yeah.
He knew how to pass protect and knew how to run routes, and he could tote the rock. And that's what Breece Hall is going to be able to do. So, that's what Iowa State running backs do. That's what they ask them to learn and understand. So that has merit. Yeah.
Scott from Iowa, I'm sorry. We love you. I don't know if he's a Hawkeye or a Cyclone guy, but
no, he's an Iowa guy. He's an Iowa Hawkeye.
Okay, okay, we're good. He's a good Iowa.
Yeah, we've had combos about that. Yeah, we don't like Iowa State.
Yeah. One final thing that I want to touch on before we get into the meat and potatoes and the jardinera of today's show. Former Chicago Bears running back Tariq Cohen tore his Achilles or ruptured his Achilles on Instagram Live, and I mean, honestly, too, like the Players Tribune article, just a lot of stuff really coming out about Tariq Cohen in the last 12 months. I mean, he lost his brother, he got cut by the Bears, like whole bunch of stuff. So, do you guys have one like a final just note on Tariq as a Bear, and then two like a team that you could see when he's healthy that he can make an impact on like right away? Because he had that like Darren Sproles type like mentality to him where it's like, yeah, maybe he didn't put together the 1,000-yard seasons or do the the numbers, but when you needed Tariq Cohen in a pinch, he usually came through. And he's a guy that was a glue guy and a great guy to have in the locker room. Ron, I'll start with you.
Beautiful, thank you. Because I don't want mine to get taken. I have
Go
a
ahead.
team in mind, and it's a no-brainer. But no, it's just Tariq's a guy you just hope he catches a break. Like that dude's been through a lot of shit. And again, he was a fan favorite. Like I know there was a lot of skepticism around his contract and whatever, but like
Yeah.
he was fun. Bears fans loved him. Like Bears fans appreciate just a good dude, and like that's what Tariq Cohen is. And hopefully everything works out for him because he's been through a lot of crap. But, bro, wouldn't the Tampa Bay Buccaneers love a guy like Tariq Cohen just to dump the ball down? And
Yeah,
let him
and they
go
don't
be
even
a
need him
weapon
that
in
much.
space? Yeah, just go be a weapon in space. Like he would thrive in Tampa. He would thrive with any elite quarterback that knows how to properly check the ball down. Like there are still plenty of teams out there that can utilize Tariq Cohen's skill sets, but like I just sit here and think about like a 1-2 punch in Tampa, like this coming season, obviously with the Achilles that doesn't really line up for this year, but maybe next year. It's like Leonard Fournette and Tariq Cohen in Tampa looks really nice in that backfield. You know, Fournette's your big back. Yeah, he found out how to catch passes now when he got to Tampa, but
Lenny Stonehand somehow can catch passes now.
yeah, but there is still, don't you dare think for a second they wouldn't find ways to use Tariq Cohen. Like they would have fun with it. Byron Leftwich would use him like a freaking gadget toy. He would just be like, I'm throwing you out there in this play and this play and this play. Kind of what he did with the Bears, but he's going to be doing it with a much better offense with Tom Brady at the helm. Like that would go a long way, I think, just for a team success standpoint because his versatility. So I'd love to see him in Tampa. I think that'd be kind of cool. But I just hope nothing but the best for Tariq Cohen. I have nothing but love for Tariq Cohen as a player. Like, dude deserved it. Honest to God, I don't know if you guys recognized it, but like before that first knee injury, he came out of that offseason. He was bigger. He was running a lot harder. He was developing into a complete back, and then he got hurt. And it sucks to see because he was going to live up to that contract if he was healthy. I really firmly believe that. And it just didn't work out because that got in the way. So I hope he can stay healthy and have a solid career still.
Joey, for you?
I mean, a lot of the same things that Ron said. I don't actually have a team in mind now because by the time he's healthy, it's like a lot's going to change. So for me to kind of project that, like Tom Brady might not even be on the Bucs, but that was a team that before you even started talking around, I'm like, maybe the Bucs. And then you said it, and I was like, oh shit.
Put your reek on the table. Pick a team.
Reek on the table. You said Darren Sproles. I mean, who played in?
Oh,
I'm
dude, the
go New
Chargers.
Orleans.
Oh, you said New Orleans? Yeah, I was saying New Orleans right now. Was this Kamara?
Kamara might be on his way out at some point, right?
They got Ingram back though too, didn't they? Didn't they get Ingram back last year?
Yeah, but I mean, like Cohen's not going to be ready for until next year, though, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll just say the Saints. Why not? Just give me an old Darren Sproles team. But like Cohen, man, it just sucks because it's like, dude, like Ron said, you can't catch a break. And like I remember calling him every time he would do something crazy. I know a lot of people like call him Turbo and all that. He was the human joystick to me. Like every time.
Pinball.
Yeah, pinball, dude. He was playing pinball, and he wasn't afraid to go at some guys. Like try to run guys over as a little mini shit that Tariq Cohen was. I just feel horrible for him. I mean, he was on Instagram Live, like you said, and it's like he's telling him to shut the camera off. It's like that's just heartbreaking to see, man. Like watching that video is like
I couldn't watch it. Yeah, I didn't watch it.
Horrible. I didn't watch it more than once, and you're not missing anything if you haven't watched it. You don't want to watch it. I'm just saying it's really bad to see anything like that happen to a guy like Cohen, who he's been working his ass off to get back, obviously, and he's had a lot going on outside of football too. So it's like you root for a guy like that. I hope that he comes back and is successful in this league. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so like I wish that the Bears did him more favors with his injury. I wish they came out and said it's an ACL, it's an MCL, it's also I believe there was something going on with his leg too. Instead of just saying it's an ACL, he's out, and just like everyone thinking, okay, it's an ACL, he'll be back in 8 months or whatever. And then when 8 months come around, they don't clarify anything like that.
Yeah, that was really strange.
Didn't help the guy. My heart goes out to him, man. It just sucks. I couldn't watch that video. I had no interest in seeing it. It's just heartbreaking. But I hope he makes a full comeback. I hope he gets back out there. And you know what city loves a comeback story? Las Vegas.
Oh,
interesting.
My brain initially went to the Patriots, like a James White replacement, and then I thought, well, why go where there's already a guy in that role in James White? Why not just go with McDaniels where they needed James White? I think the Raiders would be a great fit for him if he can come back.
Yeah, and for me, it goes back to many moons ago, quite a few hosts ago, where I had a sound clip where it was a catch on Talladega Nights, and it was, if you don't like Tariq Cohen, then fuck you. And Tariq retweeted that, and I've always, I don't know, even before that, like I always really just liked what he brought to the table. I thought a lot of his inefficiencies were in spots that he was used in. It's like Matt Nagy. This is the one that I always go back to. It's like Matt Nagy throwing a curl route to him on 3rd and 9. It's like, it's not what we're supposed to be using Tariq Cohen for. But, yeah, the injury, it sucks. Like, I really hope to see him back in the NFL. I would say I could see him going to Pittsburgh. Going to Mitchburg.
Oh, so you just wanted to reunite with Mitch.
Link back up with Mitch and play in that backfield. Najee Harris, who we all saw last year's bell cow, get a majority of their carries. But a guy like Tariq Cohen, the effort's always there, and the athletic ability will probably take a little bit of a hit with the injuries. But if the base is there, he should still have what he needs in the tank to at least compete in the NFL. And knock on wood, hopefully we get to see him back, and not this season, but the season after. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, a little bit of a sad moment, poor Tariq. I really hope he gets back sooner rather than later. But we're gonna hop into the meat and potato of the show. Ron, I'm leading off with you. Who is one player you hope has a breakout year on the Bears this year?
Yeah. A huge part of me wants to take the obvious one, but I'm going to take a little bit of a dark horse here, and it is going to be a rookie. I hope it is Jaquan Brisker. I really do. I'm riding that high from the draft show. Love the Brisker pick. The more and more I see of him, the more and more I like him. He fits that old school Chicago Bears 4-3 safety that we're all accustomed to, right? I hope we can have the conversation with him and Eddie Jackson and Mike Brown and even the Chris Harrises, of the world. The Bears have had a lot of good safeties, and I really think Brisker can fit into that conversation. So to keep it short enough so we can get through all these here, I'm gonna go ahead and say my hope is that Jaquan Brisker has a breakout season as a rookie.
Joey, for you?
It's the guy that settled for a tryout with the Packers. He wasn't even drafted. I'm going to go with Lucas Patrick. A little bit of an oddball. Center, should be the starting center with the Bears this year. Why not, man? He wasn't like he was super good with the Packers, right? But he's worked with Getsy. We need a quality center. We need a quality offensive line. This is huge for field development. It's huge for this offense to go. So if Lucas Patrick can step in and be that guy, that starting center, which we know he can play guard too. He can kind of shift back and forth, but expecting him to be the starting center, he's so hungry, man. The guy wasn't drafted, like I said, wasn't even taken immediately as an undrafted free agent. Took him a minute, had to do the tryout with the Packers. That just tells me he's got that that dog in him, if that's what you want to say. Like, as the kids will say, he's got that dog in him. And I think Getsy sees that and likes that, and the Bears see that. And I hope he really has a breakout this year.
I'm glad you said an offensive lineman, so now I won't sound like a jag-off when I say Sam Mustipher.
Oh, my God. His replacement. Oh, man. Stop.
Go ahead, Q.
Man, so the obvious, just to get out of the way, is Justin Fields. That's not who I'm going to talk about, though, because it's just too easy of an answer. So my thought here is we know that the O-line is going to be a work in progress. It's, 5 guys. One of them works out doesn't mean the O-line works out. So when you have a developing quarterback, how do you get over a work in progress O-line? It's having good receivers. So I got to go with Velus Jones. He's the guy who has the game-breaking ability. You can consider going Byron Pringle here, but Pringle's on a 1-year deal. He's 28 years old. He has a breakout year. You got to consider paying him or letting him walk and all that and dealing with the consequences of that. Velus Jones is on a rookie contract. Give me that guy to break out and, get Justin out of some tough spots, make plays for his quarterback, and just go off. I think that's the best choice in my eyes is get the playmaker the ball and let him go make plays.
I'm going bold with mine. And I got a lot. I'm throwing the meat on the table. I'm going Jalen Johnson, and here's why. You're probably like, oh, he was the number 1 corner with this, that, and the third. Okay. He now has a solid number 2 corner with him, right? Kyler Gordon, we know he hasn't played a snap in the NFL, but we know what the ceiling looks like for a guy like that, right? You slot a new safety in the back with Jaquan Brisker, and you got Eddie Jackson over there. So now he actually has the 4 key components of any secondary. The 3 other guys that are going to be out there on a majority of the snaps with him are all quality players. I want to see – I'll put a number 2. I want to see a 5 interception campaign out of Jalen Johnson this year. I want to see, number 1 guys having difficult times with Jalen Johnson. I want to see him locking dudes up. And I think a year like that can put to bed some of the stuff that we talked about a little bit earlier with the national media hate. And I'm not saying Jalen Johnson's a top 10 corner, so don't get it twisted like that. But I'm saying Jalen Johnson doesn't get as much respect as he deserves. And it's his 2nd or 3rd year in the season. So I think this year right here could be a very pivotal year for how his career could go as a Chicago Bear. And I think he has a good one.
Did you see his comments the other day?
I did not.
About interceptions. So he was basically saying that, the first 2 years he was here, it was he was playing a side where he had to be he had to be on his guy at all times. There was no roaming. It was him and that guy, and that affects your ability to go make plays on the ball. And he's thinking it might be a little different in this defense, this ability to kind of freelance a little more and try to go get the ball. Yeah,
to be a little bit more of a roamer, you can jump a couple more routes when you have a little bit of help over the top. And we've probably had a little bit more pins and needles the last few years because he's got guys
he's good at it.
Bill Dorr and shit behind him. Yeah,
maybe he could be like that dude from the Cowboys a little bit more. Trevon Diggs?
Yeah,
he's a jumper, dude.
You're either getting an 80-yard touchdown,
interceptions, nothing in between.
Yeah, he gets bombed away sometimes. But it's
hey, that's the way Marcus Peters was for the first few years of his career, and then he found a happy medium.
But I feel like if there's anyone that can find that happy medium from a guy that he's already shown that he's a quality corner without the picks, it's a guy like Jalen because he's already has that. Like you said, he can be a quality corner without getting jumping routes and stuff. Now that he can kind of roam and maybe jump routes, it's easier to now incorporate that, I think, than go in reverse and be like, oh, now I'm going to be shut down corner and go downfield and not get burnt deep.
Well, either you can play press man or you can't. There's not really a learning it, and we know Jalen can play press man.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kyle Fuller's an example here. He was never a strong press man corner. And he was good off man. He was good zone. He was good match. But press man was not something playing up on the line of scrimmage and getting physical with the receiver was not his game. Jalen, that is his game. And can he expand it out is the big question that I'm excited to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he'll have every opportunity to do so this year. And instead of Devontae Adams twice a year, it'll be Sammy Watkins. So, but moving into the next one. This is off-season additions only. So, who is the most important Bears off-season addition from this past year? Players only.
Are we doing a player that we expect to break out too? The differentiation from
that would be under the assumption, I mean, that they're going to have a good year and not just sell a shit ton of jerseys and empty checks.
Okay.
Which, I mean, that's such a Bears thing to do, is go and sign a big free agent in their first year here. They just don't live up to our hype. Because we are assholes to our players, as much as we don't want to admit it.
No,
Not
fair.
Specifically, like, we're even keel, but as a fan base, we are shitbags to the Bears.
No, all good. I was just more so worried about asking about the rundown. But yeah, okay. So most important offseason addition. I'm actually going with a kid from the draft. I think it's Kyler Gordon, and I think for a number of reasons why. Jalen has that second corner now this year that, they're not just going to target that half of the field the whole time, and he's not going to get any looks to make plays. On top of that, it shifts Duke Shelley back into the slot, where I think he is the best option the Bears have currently in that nickel spot. I think that also allows Vildor maybe to get more looks in the nickel, and I think he's actually going to provide value there because of that. And then maybe Graham becomes your guy that plays kind of a hybrid mix. Sure, you can play him on the outside if a guy needs a blow, or you can play him inside in the slot as well. I think it completes that cornerback room, right? They needed that true number 2 that could play on the outside, and I think they got it in Gordon. Eberflus made high praise comments about Gordon, saying he's playing the defense the right way, and that's exciting because sure, maybe are you gonna is he the most talented corner to come out of this draft? Mm-hmm. But if he's playing the defense the way it's meant to be played, that means he's getting in the places he needs to be. He's creating turnovers. And when this defense creates turnovers, we've seen it back in the history of the Bears. When the 4-3 Tampa 2 inspired defense creates turnovers, good shit happens for your football team. So I think Gordon was the most important acquisition for the Bears this offseason.
Joey, how about you?
I don't know. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and lie. I think Ron's spot on here. I really do. I think he is the most important. You get another side cornerback there that we needed. We desperately needed another cornerback. How many times were we bitching about the defensive backs after games, before games? Who's going to cover this wide receiver? You had Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. You got 2 of those guys. Who's going to cover the other one? Whoever's open is going to get torched, or whoever's not getting covered by Jalen Johnson is going to get torched. I mean, he is, to me, the most important part of. You could have went Jaquan Brisker too, in my opinion. You can kind of couple those guys. I think they are both the most important offseason additions, and they were just so happened to be the first 2 picks by the Bears in the draft. But it's true. We need them to be playmakers and step up and be year 1 starters for this team to even have a shot at going above your win total there, Bdon, that you have next to your name. So I mean – and this defense can be really good if those guys are really good. If you have Brisker starting at safety next to Eddie Jackson, you can make him better than everybody has been talking down about Eddie Jackson for 2 or 3 years now, and not playing up to his potential. If Brisker can do that and step in, and Kyler Gordon, man, we need another. Thomas Graham could probably play slot, I think, but I don't know. I like him on the outside too. I liked what he did. So we'll see how they kind of want to shake that out. But he seems really hungry for that second starting cornerback job. So I do think Ron's right. I think he's the most important addition.
Q, how about you?
Yeah. Just a little bit on what you guys were saying. I think Gordon's got that second spot lock. I think that's his spot. But in the slot, they did also sign a guy. I can't remember his name at the moment. Tavon Young, maybe. Yeah, but they signed a guy to play the nickel spot. I don't think that's right. His name, I lost his name for the moment. But either way, with most important offseason addition, I'm going with your guy, Joey. I'm going with Lucas Patrick. I think he is
I
going
almost
to
went for that one for that category too. I like the call though.
I think he's coming in here. He's setting the tone for the O-line room. He's already taken a leadership role with these guys. I mean, the way I'm kind of looking at it, you just got a guy who kind of his talent level's probably similar to Cody Whitehair, in my opinion, but he seems like he's more vocal of a leader. And at center, I think that's so important to have that vocal aspect, the communication aspect of it. He's working hard to get to know his teammates. He's going to leave it all out on the field. I think he is going to be, I mean, if he just brings the Bears line up a little, I think it makes a big difference as far as what they're doing out there. And I think just setting the tone for these young guys is going to be a very important thing, especially when you just spent, 4 draft picks on offensive linemen, mostly late draft picks, but still. And you got 2 guys who were rookies last year in there still trying to learn the NFL. Mm-hmm. You got not just Whitehair now, but Patrick to show them the ropes. And I just love the leadership role that he's taken on with these guys already.
I love that. I love a good O-line just hype up. So,
yeah.
I appreciated that. Thank you, Quintin.
So, for me, I'm gonna go to Velus Jones, and here's why. So, Justin Fields, as we all know, the national media, the Chicago media, the people on our level who just have like Twitter shows and YouTube shows and stuff like that are all wondering what we're going to get in this second year, right? And I think with the Bears' lackluster attack at the receiver position in the free agency, you had to go and get someone on day 1 of our draft, which was day 2 of the draft, and they got Velus Jones. Now, I know Quentin isn't as sold on him, but I think, from what I saw in what he did at Tennessee, his ability to take the top off the defense, to be that deep threat, I think adding a guy that is his quality down the field with the 50-50 balls and with just getting open and making, a move or two to get into the end zone always adds value to your offense. I'm going to be interested to see because it's really like an island of misfit toys with our receivers. Darnell Mooney's obviously the one. Velus Jones could project to be that number 2, but Byron Pringle also had, one would say, quality seasons with the Chiefs, given who was ahead of him on the depth chart. Byron Pringle had plenty of touchdowns, plenty of key receptions. Obviously, it helps when you have Patrick Mahomes throwing you the football. It's a lot easier, but he also had some dogs in front of him at the receiver position that prevented him from getting, a lot more targets.
Yeah, and just to defend myself a little bit on the Velus Jones one, I did a lot of research in the article that went out today. I'm coming around to him a little. Okay. I'm coming around to him a little bit after that.
Read that after
I still don't love the value of the pick, but I'm squinting at him and seeing more upside than I did initially.
Didn't you call him Debo? Something
loosely.
Like that. Not exactly. Yeah,
his closest comparison is Debo. All the numbers I could run, I looked at so many different ways, and it kept coming back to Debo because I was like, man, I don't know if I want to put out an article that says he's Debo.
Yeah.
Because that's the way people will take it. No matter how much I try to pat it down, they're going to be like, he's Debo.
Well, no, I saw some tweets that were saying that back to you. So that's why I kind of said that to get you
going.
Well, did he use the DM the girlfriends of linebackers on other teams and cornerbacks on other teams before the games? Because that would put him in the Debo category.
That was one of my strongest factors, actually.
Yeah.
that was the fact. That's absolutely true.
Debo spent 5 years at South Carolina. Velus spent 6 years in college. Debo took a few years to break out. I think it was his 3rd year when he finally hit 500 receiving yards. Velus took 6. That one's a little further out. But a guy who was interesting who also took 5 years to break out in his 5 years in college was Terry McLaurin. So that one was kind of a nice upside.
He's really hitting his stride right now.
The biggest difference between Debo and Velus was Velus is just way faster. That's what makes it so hard to find comps is Velus is so fast. There are not many guys who ran a 10-yard split or 40 faster than him, but his agility testing was in the basement. I don't know what happened with his agility testing. I've never seen a guy that fast and that unagile. Like, you would think a 10-yard split like that, you would do better in a shuttle because you're turning and then 10-yard split, turning 10-yard split. But like, I don't know what went on there. I don't know if it was testing. I don't know if that's real. Like, I'm very perplexed by Velus because of his agility testing. But I mean, their college numbers were very similar, Debo and Velus, and that was really those factors: athletic testing, size, college production, and how many years they were in college when they broke out, how many snaps they played in total, were all the factors. And his closest comp was Debo. None of the comps were all that close, but that was the closest one. Him and McLaurin were the two closest.
I'm wondering, real quick, Quintin, just to ask you a question about this. I'm wondering if this is like, because the 3-cone was bad too, right?
Yeah, 3-cone and shuttle were just bottom of all the wide receivers. Which is weird. You don't see that very much with guys that fast.
So I'm wondering, like, because he mentioned on a couple of interviews I heard of him that he said he could have ran a better 40 time than what he did, which is incredible to me. Because
have you seen the video of it? I think he tweeted it out. Actually, you can see he veers off to the left of the track and then has to come back to the middle, which means he wasn't going straight the whole time. He ran like a curve, which means his 40 theoretically could have been a couple split seconds better.
Yeah, and that's what he kind of said in the interviews I've watched or heard of him. And like, what I'm wondering, I guess, is when he says I can do a better 40, like, could he have done a better, 3-cone and the rest of it that maybe he didn't test as well, but he just kind of had a bad test? Because like, some guys are just, maybe, I don't know if it's the pressure when they're in those situations of the combine and all that. Like, maybe it's just he just didn't have the best test that day, and that's what I'm kind of wondering.
It can also be like what you focus your training on. These guys train for months for these athletic tests, and if he's focusing all on 40,
he didn't.
He could, which is kind of a question. Like, why would you focus all on one thing? But like,
when you're already fast as shit, just like focus on the other stuff. You would think
there have been guys.
You wanted that record.
DK is actually the only guy that was that fast and that unagile. But DK is, you can't even compare him because DK jumps out of the gym and is just, his explosive testing was unreal and his size is unreal. Velus doesn't have either of those, but he's the only guy who was that fast and that unagile. And I know DK just like, he didn't know how to do the 3-cone when he got there. He just didn't know how, like, he was just like, what do I do here? He was learning how to go. So like, maybe it was something like that. Someone's got to ask Velus this, because I'm perplexed by it.
Yeah, it's weird.
Watching a pro day live is like watching a pro day or like a combine live. It's always a spectacle because it's like each slightest slip up is a couple tenths of a second, and like these guys have been training they train from the whether you're in a bowl game or the college football playoff or you left literally days the bowl game, so it's like I can only imagine it's the same for most guys. You still hear me?
Yeah.
Joey looked at me like he couldn't hear me.
Another thing that I saw, for a minute there, but
you're good. You got the shitbox Wi-Fi. Another thing that I saw on Twitter today on the topic of DK Metcalf was, what if I told you that the receiver on the left was a higher fantasy football producing receiver than the receiver on the right? And it was a shirtless picture of Hunter Renfrow and a shirtless picture of DK Metcalf. So DK Metcalf's a dog. I would love for Velus Jones to even be somewhere between DK and Debo. One of the two. I don't even care which one it is, because we need that weapon in our offense. And I know his hips are not a state. We're going to have to work on that lateral quickness and the breaking in and out. But if we just want to throw him deep and put it in the air, we got the quarterback to do it, and he's got the speed to get it done. But the fun one, the final question of the show, Ron, I'll start with you. What does Matt Eberflus prefer? Say that 5 times fast. Eberflus and prefer, like back to back. What does Matt Eberflus prefer? A Chicago dog or a Maxwell Street dog?
He strikes me as a Maxwell guy. He really does. He just has that kind of blue collar grit. I feel like that fits the Maxwell bid. I think he's the guy will sit there and give you the honest answer. He does not discriminate and will happily take both. But if he had a pick, like he strikes me as a Maxwell guy. I'm personally a big brats and onions kind of guy. Like ballparks, you got a good brat, yes please. But don't get me wrong, I will not discriminate to a Maxwell nor a Chicago dog because they're
Southside Ron likes the onions.
Always. They're delicious. You get a little good mustard and some onions. Whew, unbeatable.
Joey?
Yeah, so I guess I'm answering this more as what I think Flus would answer it by. And I think Flus would say, now maybe Ron's right. Maybe he's more of a Maxwell Street Polish guy. But I myself think that he's going to say, I'm a Chicago-style dog guy because he's a man of the people. Flus seems like a man of the people. He wants to build this culture and get inside this Chicago culture. So he's going to go say straight up Chicago dog style. Me personally, I like a Maxwell Street Polish. I love a Chicago dog. Like Ron, I'm not going to discriminate. I'll eat either one. But I like the Maxwell Street Polishes dressed up as Chicago style dogs. Like, give me all the toppings that the dogs have on the Maxwell Street Polish. It is fucking phenomenal. Let me just tell you.
Thing you've said all day, Joey.
Yeah, and I've said a lot of fat things too, like on Cubs on Tap too. I'm pretty sure earlier tonight. So I'm just gonna say, Flus strikes me as he's gonna tell you he's a Chicago style dog guy, but I'm a Maxwell Street Polish guy. I'm a both guy, but give me the Maxwell Street dressed up as a Chicago style.
Skyline chili on your Maxwell?
No, absolutely not. Fuck that. I will not be fat that way.
That's like a mortal sin right there.
Yeah. No.
Skyline chili on a Maxwell.
And we just we're playing the Reds right now, Bdon, as Cubs fans. What are you doing? What are you bringing this fucking Skyline chili shit up?
So on this one, I had a hunch. So I pulled out my files, started getting to work on it, and I found John Uberflus, Ueberfluss, emigrated from Poland to Toledo, Ohio in 1902. And the man's going with his roots. He's sticking with the Polish. Give me the Maxwell.
I love that.
This is like an analytical answer, but like historical analytical answer.
Because he's from Toledo, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he went to college in Toledo. He's from the area, I believe.
Okay.
That's
some
perfect.
digging. That is digging, Quintin.
The man did his research.
Wow.
I forgot to do the research and I did
away.
it in the pre-show.
Not
just
a
like
thing.
Eberflus origin.
Oh, that's amazing.
All right, so for me, I think Flus goes Chicago dog to be a man of the people to impress. And, like, I don't know. Does he have Twitter? Does Flus have Twitter?
He needs to
think he
make
does.
Twitter.
He should. I don't know if he does.
So Flus's first tweet would be a picture of his Chicago dog. And there would be, like, I'm talking about a slip and slide worth of ketchup on that dog. And you would just see collectively across the city heads start to explode. He wouldn't know anything about it in the moment. He would be like, yes, hello, Bears Nation. I'm finally on Twitter. I'm having a great lunch here at the office. And it's a Chicago-style hot dog with ketchup on it. Could you imagine that?
People would freak out about the ketchup.
It would absolutely happen. That's a great answer.
That is what I think would happen.
Explode. Heads would absolutely explode.
So,
and then for dinner, you get a beef with no peppers.
No peppers.
No cheese either.
Dude, Bears fans are so fucking nuts. Bears fans are so nuts. Let me just tell you, they'd probably look at the ketchup and be like, "We'll still suck you dry." Like, they're so nuts, even though they don't want ketchup on their dog. Like,
oh my god.
Oh shit. I mean, as a ketchup on my dog guy, I wouldn't be mad at Flus. I'd be like, that's how you get her done. But I know how our fan base is, and I know that whether you're a Cubs fan or a Sox fan, it's just a Chicago thing that it is a sin to put ketchup on your hot dog. But yeah, I think overall we touched all the bases. Hopefully Flus doesn't start a Twitter and go on the Bdon script on how to get my first tweet off, because that would actually be hilarious. And you heard it here first. But
You need to get quote tweeted, or he needs to shout you out.
And it's getting nice out. Go support your local Polish or hot dog stand around the corner or wherever, because those places are always a little bit better than Portillo's in my eyes. Although I do love a nice little Portillo's spread. So
it's a nice little shameless plug that I truly appreciate there, Bdon.
yeah, because I mean, there's a gazillion of them. You could live in the suburbs or in the city. You're gonna have a place that's a minute or two away that you can get a gyro or a hot dog or a beef at,
or all three,
and just get the Chicago charcuterie
just
board.
A nice little platter.
Yeah,
we haven't talked about like Italian sausage yet, but let me just tell you, there are some beef sausage combo places around here.
Oh yeah,
Johnny's,
the place I work.
Oh,
just shout out to Tony's Pizza where I'm from.
Yeah, if there was one thing that Bears fans are in first place by a long margin, or maybe Buffalo would be the close second, is what we do with meat in the parking lot outside of the stadium. The tailgate scene has just about damn near everything you could imagine. You got tacos, steaks, brats, burgers.
That's something. That's a sell for the new stadium.
Yeah,
more tailgate territory.
Ooh, baby. More tailgate territory is actually kind of dangerous, Quintin.
I was gonna say the lawlessness in that area, but hey,
it's gonna be
because it's like it's so small now. Like there's gonna be the masses there.
Yeah, we're gonna have some lit parties in this.
If you think about it, it's really just that, like, what is it, like the parking garage?
North lot?
Yeah, the north lot, and then that parking garage, bro. And it's like, and then it's like, as Bears fans, like people are just double fisting Miller Lights as they're walking around the stadium, anyways. But
yes,
a cop will smack it out of your hands and not care or think twice about it. So keep that in mind.
Be safe.
Yeah, be safe. Drink responsibly. Get an Uber home, and the Bears are going to win seven plus games this year. We'll be here to cover it for you, but we do appreciate everyone for tuning in to the Monday Fun Day action. Talk a little Bears, talk a little Chicago style versus Maxwell. Which now I'm going to have to get some Chicago dog or some variation of a Chicago meal tomorrow for lunch, and you should as well. But we'll be back with you guys next week on Monday as usual. Give my guys a follow at Loose on Tap, Mr. Ron Loose. Give Joey a follow as well at Joey Knows Nothing. He should be back with more picks of the day here soon. Basketball is just not a sport, honestly.
I took a break for a while, but I will say, Bdon, I told you about the Celtics.
Any responsible and profitable gambler will always know the right time to walk away. So you didn't have to call the hotline. I don't know why I'm holding on to a highlighter right now, but I am.
I have to highlight my shitty picks.
Yeah, no, I'm like highlighting like the Velus Jones stats on my invisible whiteboard over here. But and then don't forget to follow Quintin. I have an article now that I need to go check out about our new receiver Velus Jones, and throw the show a follow at Bears on Tap. We'll be back with you guys next Monday. Stay tuned for more Bears articles, and Bear down.
Bear down.
Bear down.
Bear down.